You know what I love about owning an emulation console? The fact that I get to discover video games that made it past me when I was a kid. I own an Odroid, which has about 40 years worth of content. So when I get bored, I like to scroll through some of that. And I came across something in the Game Boy category. A very unusually epic game called Trip World. Trip World. It was done by Sunsoft, released in 1992 for the Game Boy. It was huge, well I don't know about huge, but it was pretty popular overseas, but go figure, it didn't get a good following here in the United States, so it became rare. I mean, Lil Samson rare. That's how rare it became. I never heard of this game until about a couple days ago. So when I played this game, I'm like, holy crap, I have to do a video on it. Trip World is about a little creature called a Yakapoo. He's a little creature, he looks like a rabbit, and he shapeshifts. He could turn into a fish, he could fly, and in his base form, he can kick the living shit out of just about everything that comes his way. Now Yakapoo is just a young little guy who lives with his granddad on top of a mountain. His granddad just happens to be protecting a flower that controls that makes everything in Trip World peaceful. So when some dickhead shows up and attacks Yakapoo's granddad and steals that flower, Trip World goes mad. Everyone starts fighting with one another, peaceful creatures become hostile, and it's up to our little friend Yakapoo to go to these people who stole the flower, kick them around, get the flower back, and restore peace to Trip World. Now here's the thing about Trip World. This game is relatively short, but it feels huge. It feels really, really big, despite being really, really small. And for whatever reason, upon doing my further research for this game, it's being compared to a scaled down version of the game Mr. Gimmick for the NES. Which, by the way, if you want to, I'm not going to talk about it here, but if you want to see more on Mr. Gimmick, my homeboy Pat did a video on Mr. Gimmick, so if you want to check that out, head on over to his channel, the Nindeviled. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can check that video out. But as far as Trip World goes, that's being compared to a scaled down version of that. The thing is with Trip World, the levels are indeed scaled back from that of an NES game, but yet the levels feel huge. Everything about this game feels huge. So that leaves me to wonder, why was this game not on the NES? As far as I'm concerned, this game was too good for the Game Boy. Like seriously, this is a small epic. It's only about 5 levels long. You'll literally beat it in about anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes, depending on whether or not you have trouble getting by the final boss. But this game, had it been on the NES, would have been huge. Everything that you could take about this game and expand it, this would have been a hit had it been on the NES. I mean, hell, you could even make a minor Metroidvania out of this. I mean, there's a lot of elements of searching going on in Trip World, but the thing is, when you search for things as if it was in the style of a Metroidvania, you either find a shortcut which will get you closer to the final boss, or you can find something that'll get you a certain power-up but set you back to a certain point. And speaking of power-ups, the power-ups in this game are freaking wild. You got seeds that when collected, it puts a flower on Yakapoo's head. and he spits those seeds out at enemies, so it turns those enemies into friends. Unfortunately, it's a temporary effect. There's also a berry that turns him into a little bouncy ball, so you could just bounce through the stage. And then there's another berry that shrinks him down. And then there's another berry that turns him into a mouse creature with a lashing tail. To me, those last two power-ups are kind of pointless. But the mouse power-up actually does come in handy in the final stage when you have to defeat a mini-boss. Oh, and the bosses in this game. Phew. They range from easy to, wow, that was tough, but I had no problem getting to it. The only problem you're going to have is on the final boss. The final boss will make you struggle a tad, but eventually if you take a shortcut to where you can spam extra lives by killing a certain enemy a certain number of times, you should be fine. Trip World is a game with a lot of unexplored potential. A lot of it. You look at this game and you think to yourself, or at least I think to myself, this could have been so much more. But why the Game Boy? I love the Game Boy to death. I really do. It's one of my all-time favorite consoles. If I had this game when I was a kid, I probably would have played it to absolute death. But had I had this game when I was a little kid, I would probably be wishing that I had this on the NES. I would love to see an NES version of Trip World. I would love to see how far these indie developers, if indie developers were to do this, how far they can expand this game and what they could possibly do with it. It's crazy to imagine. I mean, the plot can be expanded upon, the levels can be expanded, you can have more hidden areas, more items to collect, side missions, objectives. It can be a true epic. But then again, this game already is a true epic. I highly recommend you check out Trip World. This game is absolutely amazing for what it is on the Game Boy. Small game with a big feel. I highly recommend you check out Trip World any way you can. Whatever emulator, whatever Game Boy emulator you have, or if you're lucky enough to find it out there in the wild and fork over some cash and get you an actual copy of the game on your Game Boy, play Trip World. An absolute excellent game. I could not recommend it enough. Love this game. Excellent. Well, that's going to do it for me. Again, if you're new here, welcome. Glad you could join us. Make sure to like and subscribe and smack the hell out of the notification bell so that way you know when we go live with some new content. We got a lot of stuff coming out this week. Or not coming out this week. I'm filming a lot of stuff this week. Me and Mike are headed back out to Disney. He's about to get on the Tower of Terror for the first time. Y'all stay tuned for that. My birthday is on Saturday. I cannot wait. I'm going to be in New Orleans with the wife and the homies. We are going to be filming every single second of it. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. Oh, I cannot wait. I got so much content coming up. We got more episodes of the One No One Talks About in the works. We got a movie in the works. We got 2 movies in the works. And it's all because of you. All 421 of you that have joined us, and everyone else who is still looming over the subscribe button. Let's go ahead and give it a push, because we are on the way to 1K. That's right, we're trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year. I believe we can do it, and I want to again thank each and every one of you for the support, for watching us, for getting us out in the algorithm. We got major YouTube gamers looking in our direction, and we just want to entertain all of you, because that is what I personally love to do, and I love doing it gaming, through theme parking, through pop culture, through whatever it is that G.A.A.S specializes in, we're bringing it to you. And I couldn't be happier to do that. And I thank each and every one of you for your support. Well, thanks for stopping by. I'm going to see y'all next time. Brown out.